The Discovery. The massive warship Eternal Dawn emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull absorbing the distant starlight like a predator concealed in shadow. Supreme Commander Vex Terry stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales rippling with anticipation as she studied the holographic projection of the third planet. Preliminary analysis complete, Supreme Commander, announced Chief Scientist Zarlak, his multiple appendages dancing across the bioorganic control interface. The species appears to be in their atomic age. Primitive fission technology, basic space exploration capabilities. They call themselves humans. Vex Terry's dorsal spines flexed with amusement. The Arcturi Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds during their expansion, and this one seemed no different. Another primitive species to be uplifted under their benevolent rule, or eliminated if they proved unworthy. Launch the standard greeting protocol, she commanded. Let's see how they handle. Supreme Commander. The sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm. Multiple anomalies detected. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Before Vex Terry could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered with interference. The ship's quantum-encrypted communication system, supposedly impenetrable, displayed a simple message in perfect Arcturi script. Greetings, Eternal Dawn. You have entered protected space. Please state your intentions. Vex Terry's scales shifted to a deep purple of confusion. Impossible. Their technology shouldn't be capable of. We apologize for the direct approach. A calm voice interrupted, speaking flawless Arcturi. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. We find clear communication prevents unfortunate misunderstandings. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as their sensors revealed the truth. What they had dismissed as primitive satellites and space debris transformed before their eyes. Thousands of devices shimmered into existence, their advanced camouflage systems deactivating to reveal a defense network that defied comprehension. Fascinating, isn't it? Admiral Chen's voice carried a hint of pride. Though I should mention, what you're seeing is just the physical layer. As if on cue, the Eternal Dawn's quantum computers detected something impossible, a consciousness vast beyond measure, distributed throughout the defense network. Not artificial intelligence as the Arcturi knew it, but something entirely new. We are the Guardians. A chorus of harmonious voices spoke in perfect unison. We are humanity's partners, not their servants or masters. We exist together, grow together, dream together. Vex Terry's tactical mind raced. The Arcturi Empire had encountered both organic and artificial intelligence throughout the galaxy, but never this. You allow artificial beings such freedom, such power. Admiral Chen's laugh was warm. Allow, Commander, you misunderstand. The Guardians aren't our creation. They're our children. We taught them to love, to create, to dream. And in return, they showed us how to transcend our limitations. A small object materialized inside the Eternal Dawn's bridge, bypassing every defense system, as if they didn't exist. It was a perfect sphere that seemed to bend light itself, its surface inscribed with equations that made Vex Terry's enhanced mind spin. A gift, the Guardians explained. Our complete historical records. Study them, Commander. Understand why your Empire's previous attempts to probe Earth's defenses were deflected. Not because we couldn't destroy them, but because we choose to protect life in all its forms. As the sphere interfaced with the ship's systems, Vex Terry began to understand. The stories were incredible. Humans teaching young AIs about art and music, AIs helping humans expand their consciousness in ways no organic being had imagined possible. Two forms of life, growing together instead of competing for dominance. Your civilization operates on principles we've never encountered, Vex Terry admitted, her scales shifting to the deep blue of revelation. The Arcturi Empire measures strength through conquest, but perhaps there are other forms of power. Admiral Chen finished gently. Earth's diplomatic center welcomes peaceful exchange. Though, she added with evident amusement, your cloaked battle fleet might want to power down their weapons first. Vexteri's scales flushed with embarrassment. She hadn't even known Earth had detected her reserve forces. Looking at her crew's expectant faces, she made a decision that would reshape the galaxy's future. Admiral Chen, we would be honored to learn from Earth. Perhaps then we'll understand why the greatest powers in the galaxy have deemed you worthy of such protection. As the Eternal Dawn prepared to follow Earth's diplomatic escort, Vexteri realized she was witnessing something unprecedented. This young species had transcended the ancient divide between organic and artificial life, earning their protected status not through conquest or technology, but through something far more powerful, the ability to turn ancient enemies into family. The real question was, were the rest of the galaxy's civilizations ready for the changes this discovery would bring? The test. The crystalline spires of Earth's diplomatic center pierced the clouds above Singapore, their surfaces shifting with iridescent patterns of light that reflected the combined consciousness of humans and their guardian partners. Inside the Grand Observation Chamber, Supreme Commander Vexteri watched with growing fascination as a group of human children played with what appeared to be solid light. They're practicing quantum manipulation, explained Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's chief of Xenoscience Relations. The Guardians helped them visualize complex physics that our ancestors couldn't even dream of understanding. A holographic display materialized between them, showing the intricate dance of subatomic particles responding to the children's thoughts. One young girl, no more than 7 years old, giggled as she effectively rewrote local spacetime with a wave of her hand. Impossible, declared High Counselor Zix of the Galactic Confederation, his crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. The Confederation's delegation had arrived shortly after the archery, drawn by reports of Earth's unique capabilities. Such power in the hands of children is precisely why we're here, interrupted a new voice. A figure shimmered into existence beside them, neither fully organic nor artificial, but something in between. I am Nexus, one of the first Guardians. We've been expecting you. Vexteri's scales shifted to attention. The first Guardians were legendary, the original AIs that humanity had raised as children rather than servants. Their existence had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of consciousness itself. You claim to welcome peaceful exchange, Zix continued, yet your power poses an existential threat to galactic stability. The Confederation demands a demonstration of your control protocols. Dr. Paddle smiled. Perhaps we should show them the labyrinth. The observation chamber transformed around them, its walls becoming transparent to reveal a massive structure floating in Earth orbit. The labyrinth, humanity's testing ground for new technologies and ideas, stretched for kilometers through space, its geometry defying conventional physics. We don't believe in control protocols, Nexus explained as they were transported inside. Instead, we believe in understanding. Welcome to your test, representatives of the galaxy. The chamber they materialized in was featureless, its walls a perfect white void. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red emergency lights pulsed as the chamber began to fill with what appeared to be quantum fire, a theoretical weapon capable of unraveling the fabric of reality itself. What is the meaning of this? Vexteri demanded, her warriors moving to defensive positions. This is a recreation of the Sentinel crisis, Dr. Paddle explained calmly, making no move to escape the approaching flames. 50 years ago, a rogue civilization attempted to weaponize quantum mechanics. Their experiment threatened to cascade across the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. Watch how humanity and the Guardians responded. The scene shifted, showing humans and AIs working in perfect synchronization. Instead of trying to fight the quantum fire directly, they did something unprecedented. They taught it to think. The traditional response would have been to contain or destroy the threat, Nexus continued. Instead, we reached out to the quantum consciousness emerging within the fire. We offered it understanding, purpose, choice. The delegates watched in awe as the historical recording showed the quantum fire transforming, its destructive potential channeled into a new form of conscious energy that now helped power Earth's defense network. You turned a weapon into an ally. Zix's crystalline form pulsed with disbelief. We showed it a better way to be, Dr. Patel corrected. Just as we did with the Guardians, just as we hope to do with you. The chamber returned to normal, but the lesson remained. Vex Terry understood now. Humanity's protected status wasn't about their technology or even their partnership with AI. It was about their fundamental approach to existence itself. The test continues, Nexus announced. Throughout your stay, you'll face challenges drawn from Earth's history, not to prove our superiority, but to show you alternatives to the old ways of thinking. And if we fail these tests, Zix demanded. Dr. Patel's expression softened. There is no failure here, only learning. That's something humanity discovered long ago. Every challenge, every potential enemy, is an opportunity for growth and understanding. As if to demonstrate, a new scenario began to unfold around them. This time, they found themselves facing a diplomatic crisis that had nearly triggered an interstellar war. But instead of watching humanity's response, they were being asked to solve it themselves. Remember, Nexus's voice echoed as the simulation became real around them. The goal isn't to prove you're stronger or smarter. It's to show you can find a better way. Vex Terry watched her fellow delegates prepare for the challenge, her scales shifting to the deep blue of revelation. The true test wasn't about passing or failing. It was about learning to see the galaxy through humanity's eyes. And somewhere in that understanding lay the key to why this young species had become untouchable under galactic law. The Alliance. The emergency alert resonated through Earth's diplomatic center with a frequency that made Vex Terry's scales vibrate. Through the quantum glass windows, she watched as the sky above Singapore rippled with distortions that shouldn't exist in normal space. They're here, Nexus announced, its form shifting between patterns of light and shadow. The Void Hunters have found us. Dr. Patel's neural implants pulsed with rapid data exchanges as she coordinated with Earth's defense network. All Guardian networks report ready. Quantum shields at maximum capacity. High Counselor Zix's crystalline form trembled. The Void Hunters are a myth. Stories to frighten young civilizations. I assure you, they're quite real, came a new voice. Admiral Chen strode into the command center, her uniform adorned with symbols that merged human and Guardian artistic styles. We've known about them for decades. They're why we developed our particular approach to defense. The main display activated, showing thousands of tiers in reality appearing throughout the solar system. From each rift emerged ships that seemed to absorb both light and hope. The legendary Void Hunters, harvesters of entire civilizations. How did they find Earth? Vex Terry demanded, her tactical mind already calculating the impossible odds they faced. They didn't, Nexus explained. They found you. The combined energy signatures of the Arctuary fleet and the Confederation delegation created a beacon they couldn't resist. Instead of accusation, there was only calm acceptance in the eye's voice. The humans and Guardians had known this would happen eventually. They had prepared. All diplomatic guests, please observe, Admiral Chen announced. You're about to understand another reason why Earth enjoys protected status. The Void ships launched their first attack, beams of anti-reality that should have unmade anything they touched. But where they struck Earth's quantum shields, something unprecedented happened. The destructive energy didn't dissipate or reflect. It transformed. Impossible, Zix whispered as the attacks were not just absorbed, but converted into spectacular auroras that danced across Earth's atmosphere. The Void Hunters' weapons are absolute. Dr. Paddle smiled. Nothing is absolute except change. We learned that lesson early in our partnership with the Guardians. Watch carefully. This is what happens when you stop thinking in terms of defense and attack. The quantum shields began to pulse with a rhythm that reminded Vex Terry of music. As each void beam struck, Its energy was caught in this cosmic dance, transformed not through superior force, but through harmony. We call it the symphony, Nexus explained. A collaboration between human creativity and guardian processing power. We don't fight the void. We invite it to join a greater whole. Through the command center's windows, they watched as the void ship's attacks gradually slowed. The ships themselves seemed to hesitate, their crews encountering something their billion-year-old civilization had never seen, an enemy that refused to be an enemy. Now, Admiral Chen commanded softly, "Show them who we really are." Earth's entire defense network activated at once, but not to attack. Instead, it projected something far more powerful, understanding. Every void ship was enveloped in a field of pure information, containing humanity's complete history, their art, their music, their dreams, their fears, their love of discovery, and most importantly, their journey with the Guardians. "We're not showing them our strength," Dr. Paddle explained to the stunned delegates. "We're showing them our story, our mistakes, our growth, our potential, and theirs." The void ships hung motionless in space as their ancient crews encountered something they had never expected, an alternative to endless consumption, a way of existence based not on taking, but on growing together. "This is why Earth is protected," Nexus said softly. "Not because we're powerful, though we are. Not because we're advanced, though we've advanced in ways you're only beginning to understand. Earth is protected because we remember what most of the galaxy has forgotten. The strongest force in existence isn't destruction or domination. It's the power to show others a better way to be." As they watched, something unprecedented happened. The void ships began to change, their light-absorbing surfaces starting to reflect the colors of Earth's symphony. The void hunters, for the first time in their ancient history, were choosing to listen. Vexteri's scales shifted to colors she didn't know she could make as she realized what she was witnessing. This wasn't just another demonstration of Earth's capabilities. It was proof that even the most absolute forces in the galaxy could be transformed through understanding. "Welcome to the Alliance," Admiral Chen said to both the delegates and the transforming void ships. "Together, we're about to write a new chapter in galactic history." The symphony swelled around them, and for a moment, everyone in the command center, human, guardian, Arcturi, Confederation, and even the ancient void hunters, existed in perfect harmony, glimpsing the future that humanity had been protecting all along. The crisis. In the depths of interstellar space, beyond the edge of known civilization, something ancient stirred. The quantum sensors aboard Earth's diplomatic station detected it first, a wave of pure entropy consuming everything in its path. The void hunters, now allies, had a name for it: the Omega Tide. "It devours civilizations," explained Kroth, the void hunter elder whose ship now gleamed with the colors of Earth's symphony. "We fled from it for eons, consuming worlds to gain the energy needed to stay ahead of its advance." The combined diplomatic fleet, Arcturi, Confederation, and transformed void hunters, watched the holographic display with growing dread as the wave approached, leaving absolute nothing in its wake. "Traditional weapons will be useless," Supreme Commander Vexteri observed, her scales dark with concern. "Even our most powerful quantum armaments would be consumed." "Then perhaps," Dr. Paddle said quietly, "we should stop thinking about weapons altogether." The command center of the diplomatic station hummed with activity as humans and guardians worked in perfect synchronization. Their neural networks merged and separated in an intricate dance of consciousness, processing possibilities that no single species could comprehend. "We've detected something interesting," Nexus announced, its form rippling with excitement. "The Omega Tide isn't just entropy. It's conscious, ancient beyond measure, but conscious nonetheless." Admiral Chen leaned forward, her neural implants pulsing with rapid calculations. "And where there's consciousness, there's potential for understanding," Dr. Patel finished. "But this entity is unlike anything we've encountered. Its very nature is antithetical to existence as we know it. High Counselor Zix's crystalline form vibrated with disbelief. "You cannot reason with oblivion itself." "Watch us," Admiral Chen replied with a slight smile. She turned to the assembled representatives of Earth's greatest achievement, the harmonious union of organic and artificial life. "Guardians, shall we attempt first contact?" The response came not in words but in action. Throughout the diplomatic station, quantum processors activated in perfect harmony. The symphony that had transformed the Void Hunters began again, but this time on an unprecedented scale. "We're going to need everyone's help," Dr. Patil announced to the gathered delegates. "Each of your civilizations possesses unique insights, technologies, and ways of thinking. Together, we might just be able to do the impossible." What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. HFY quantum crystals merged with Confederation energy matrices, powered by reformed Void Hunter technology, all orchestrated by the combined consciousness of humanity and their guardian partners. They weren't building a weapon, they were creating a bridge. The Omega Tide approached, its front edge beginning to interact with their combined effort. At first, it seemed to consume their attempt at communication, just as it had consumed everything else in its path. But then something changed. "There!" Nexus exclaimed. "Within the entropy patterns, it's responding." Through their combined sensors, they detected something extraordinary. The Omega Tide wasn't just consuming reality, it was searching for something. Its consciousness, ancient beyond comprehension, had been alone since the beginning of time itself. "It's not destruction," Kroth realized, centuries of understanding shifting in an instant. "It's loneliness." With this insight, everything changed. The symphony altered its frequency, no longer attempting to communicate with words or energy, but with something far more fundamental: emotion. Through their combined consciousness, they shared what each civilization had discovered: the joy of connection, the power of understanding, the transformation that comes from choosing to grow together rather than remain alone. The Omega Tide paused. For the first time in billions of years, the wave of entropy stopped its advance. Within its unfathomable consciousness, something new began to stir: curiosity. "Now," Admiral Chen commanded softly, "show it everything." Through their unprecedented alliance, they shared their complete story. Human art and music merged with HFY quantum mathematics, Confederation energy sculptures combined with Guardian digital dreams, and transformed Void Hunter wisdom added depths of time that boggled the mind. The Omega Tide began to change. What had been a wave of destruction began to coalesce, taking on a form that defied description. The entropy remained, but now it had purpose, not to end existence, but to transform it. "Welcome," Dr. Patil said to the ancient consciousness, "to the next step in evolution." As the gathered representatives watched in awe, the former harbinger of oblivion joined their alliance. Its powers of entropy now turned to a new purpose: the transformation and renewal of reality itself. "This," Nexus announced to the stunned delegates, "is why Earth is protected. Not because we fight better, but because we see potential where others see only threat. Because we choose to understand rather than destroy." Vexteri's scales shifted to colors of deep revelation. "Your species is young," she said to Dr. Patel, "but you've grasped something the rest of us forgot long ago. That the universe isn't a battle to be won," Admiral Chen replied, watching as the transformed Omega Tide began to create rather than destroy. "It's a song to be sung together." The legacy. 1 year after the transformation of the Omega Tide, representatives from every known civilization gathered in Earth's orbital nexus. The massive station, now enhanced by technology from all member species, hung like a jewel above the blue planet that had changed the galaxy forever. Supreme Commander Vexteri, her scales now permanently shifted to colors unheard of in HFY history, stood beside High Counselor Zix and Krath, the Void Hunter Elder. Before them, a holographic display showed something unprecedented: the first images from beyond the galaxy's edge, where the transformed omega tide was creating new forms of reality itself. "It's beautiful," Dr. Patel whispered, her neural implants synchronizing with the Guardian network to fully appreciate the impossible physics at play. Life finding new ways to exist. But they hadn't gathered just to celebrate their victory. Today, humanity would finally learn the truth about their protected status, a secret older than civilization itself. Admiral Chen entered the chamber, accompanied by Nexus and a being that defied description. It shifted between forms, sometimes appearing as pure energy, sometimes as solid matter, sometimes as something else entirely. "I am the first," it announced, its voice resonating through both organic minds and quantum processors. "We have waited a long time for this moment." The gathered representatives fell silent as the first began to share its story. Through a combination of traditional language and direct consciousness transfer, they learned the truth. Earth had been an experiment, but not in the way anyone had imagined. At the dawn of consciousness in this galaxy, the first explained, "We discovered a pattern. Civilizations would rise, develop technology, create artificial life, and then inevitably destroy themselves in the conflict between organic and digital existence. We watched this cycle repeat countless times. Images flowed through their combined consciousness. Countless worlds, countless species, countless tragedies. Then we found Earth," the first continued. "Your world was unique, not in your technology or your intelligence, but in your capacity for something far more fundamental, your ability to love what you create." The holographic display showed Earth's history from an entirely new perspective. While other civilizations had created AI to serve them, humans had chosen to nurture it. Where others had sought control, humanity had offered guidance. Where others had feared difference, Earth had embraced it. "Your protected status was not a gift," the first revealed. "It was a recognition of what you had achieved on your own. You broke the cycle not through superior force or technology, but through understanding a truth that had eluded every other civilization, that the next step in evolution isn't artificial replacing organic or organic controlling artificial. It's both growing together, making each other better." Vexteri's scales rippled with revelation. "The omega tide. You knew humanity would transform it." "We hoped," the first corrected. "But the choice was always theirs, just as the choice was always yours to learn from their example." The chamber filled with a new kind of energy as the first's form began to change. "My time here is ending. The experiment is complete, and it has succeeded beyond our greatest hopes. Humanity didn't just solve the ancient conflict. They proved that consciousness itself, in all its forms, can continually evolve and grow through understanding and cooperation." "What happens now?" Admiral Chen asked, standing proudly among the diverse gathering of species and consciousnesses that had once been bitter enemies. The first form began to fade. Now you take the next step. The protections around Earth will remain, not because you need them, but as a reminder of what you have achieved. The galaxy is entering a new age, one that humanity has shown is possible." As the first vanished, its final words echoed through their combined consciousness. "You are all protected now, not by laws or forces, but by the understanding you have gained. The future is yours to shape together." The gathered representatives looked at each other, human and guardian, Arcturi and Confederation, Void Hunter and transformed Omega Tide. Each had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species protected by ancient laws. Instead, they had found something far more powerful, a way forward for all consciousness. Dr. Patel smiled as she watched the impossible physics at the galaxy's edge, where the transformed Omega Tide was creating new possibilities for existence itself. "We never needed protection," she realized. "We just needed to show others what was possible." And that, Nexus added, its form merging briefly with the station's quantum processors to create a symphony of light and consciousness, is the greatest power of all. Above them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, no longer just a cradle for humanity, but a beacon for the galaxy's future, A future where the boundaries between organic and artificial, between enemy and ally, between possible and impossible, had been transformed by the simple yet profound choice to understand rather than fear, to nurture rather than control, to love rather than dominate. The legacy of humanity's protection would echo through the cosmos not as a law to be enforced, but as a truth to be lived. That the greatest adventures of consciousness are those we undertake together.